Hi, this is Burr Stewart, and today's video is all about shoving cars in several different yards on my HO scale model railroad, and sometimes even talking about how we use car cards. So I hope you'll enjoy it. So let's get right into it. We're going to be doing some construction here in the kitchen of our house, so I need to clear out this Stacy Street yard over the next few weeks. And I put Aidan on the job of removing several of these long cuts of cars and pushing them to the right over into the Argo yard. You can see he wisely chose an RS-11 in BN paint, which is one of our favorite engines on the railroad. And you get a little bit of a scan of what was in the yard, and we'll have to be moving this over the next few weeks. Now, I normally wouldn't show you such a low quality video, this bad resolution, but there's something interesting going on. So I'll speed up the video 4 times. You can see that engine charging off. And we'll just look at the upper left corner there, and we'll see some things that are interesting. This ladder on the left side of the yard goes up a slight grade in order to get over the stairwell at the north portal of the yard. But first, of course, we have a bang. But you can see here that that grade meant that that one engine couldn't pull all those cement cars, so Aidan had to help it with his fingers. So the moral of the story is, if you're building a railroad yard, don't put a grade too steep at the end of it, or your switch engines won't be able to do their work. Now, the reason he had to pull up over there was because the track that these cars were on didn't directly lead to the track we wanted to store it on over in the Argo yard. So he pulled up there and backed down on the main line here so he could get over to the storage area. Like I said, I do apologize for the low resolution there. I'll try not to do that any more than absolutely necessary, but I wanted you to see that having a grade on the end of the yard is a bad idea. This is a set of mostly weathered cement cars that go into the Lone Star Cement plant, which in the model railroad is located about 25 feet behind where we're standing here. But these cars have been temporarily moved because we're doing some construction and improvements down there. And now we're temporarily going to stage them in the intermediate yard over in Argo. The wires hanging down there are the ones that are supposed to be connected up for the icing platform, which we talked about in an earlier video. Bang! So this is the same switcher. Get that finger out of the way. A few minutes later, pushing a second cut of cars over to the Argo yard. And this time he didn't have to pull all the way to the left. He was able to just shove the cars in. Like I said, this video has got a lot of shoving in it, as well as a decent number of bangs. So this is the other end of this cut of cars, and since this channel is all about reality model railroading, you can see that he forgot to flip that switch. So we discussed it, and he backed up and got on the right track, so to speak. Those UP engines are there because, well, this is the Argo yard on our right, and that's where the Union Pacific terminated their trains from Portland. So at the urging of some of my friends, we built a more decent engine terminal for those UP engines to park when we're not using them.
A little canister vacuum?
Yeah,
Which one?
yeah, that's the big one.
Okay.
Well, I could use that. There's a smaller one that he's got, a little.
There's the real tiny one.
Now, there's nothing I enjoy more than an S-curve with cars being shoved through it, partly because it's so satisfying when they don't derail. But also, it's just cool the way it looks. So I lifted up the camera so you can watch it. That coal is probably going to that same Lone Star plant. And the Lehigh Valley gondola is a long way from home out here in Seattle, but those cars did move all over the country. The newly painted GN center flow hopper will be handy when we finish the sugar plant that Tim Smith is working on. And that weathering I did many, many years ago on the cement cars while watching Dancing with the Stars on TV. I was able to just set up a little weathering station there in front of the TV. Later, my wife and I learned how to do dancing, so we didn't have to watch it on TV anymore. We do it in person. So the next thing that Aidan decided to do was to go over and straighten out some of the cars in the Everett Bayside yard. And I decided to put a camera on it and see what kind of fun we could have. Had a little trouble figuring out exactly what camera setting to use, as you saw there. But here he's shoved some cars back onto the main line there from the siding. The switcher is on the siding here. Pay no attention to that Pennsy Hammerhead RS-3 on the right, even though it's in full view, because it has nothing to do with this video, or even this model railroad for that matter, but there it is. It's a beautiful model. Bowser just put it out a few months ago. I'm not sure exactly what Aidan was trying to accomplish here, but in the end he fished a bright red Canadian Pacific boxcar out of the cut on the left and spotted it at the freight house on the right. And I thought you might enjoy seeing that. So that's what we're going to do. And I also didn't really like the view that we had there, so I shifted the camera over. And now we can see the yard a little better. I really enjoy this yard. It used to just be these 4 tracks. When the left track is the main line, the switcher is on the siding, and then the 2 tracks on the right are in what used to be called Scott's Yard. Bang! You might recognize those 2 tank cars at the end there as the bromine and the sheep car that we've had in several of our recent videos. I'm not sure what's going to eventually happen to them.
Yeah, we need it. Not immediately, but yeah, I'd like to get that done today.
That freight house you might recognize as an old fine-scale miniatures kit from the 1960s, probably, 1970s. I'm not sure when he started fine-scale miniatures, but my friend Andy built that when we were in high school, and it's still serving its rightful purpose. It's amazing. This switch engine number 317 is from a recent run of Athearn locomotives. It's not a Genesis. I guess it's Mainline, but it's a beautiful model. It has a very nice running tsunami decoder, and I'm very happy with it. Bang! Now you can see me in the background mixing up some diluted Elmer's glue. And now Aidan is uncoupling the target red boxcar, which you can hardly see, but you're going to see a lot of it in the next couple of minutes. There's that S-curve that I like so much to watch. And just for orientation, the shelf over on the upper left of this view is the Stacy Street yard we were operating on earlier in the video, and the Argo yard is on the far wall in the distance on the other side of a aisleway.
What's that?
Now, I advanced the footage a bit so you wouldn't have to wait for the runaround maneuver, but he took the switch engine off the other end of this cut, ran all around on the main line, and now he's going to back into the CP rail car and spot it at the freight house.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Here we go. As you can see, the spacing is a little tight on these switch machines, so I put the switch machine for this switch that we're going over now over next to the aisle, so it's a little easier for the operators, and I don't have clearance problems. Bang!
Could you pick up a few more?
Yeah.
Missing.
Now, it's kind of obvious at this point that what we need to do is uncouple this CP rail boxcar and drive over to the fourth track on the right and shove it into the freight house. So I sped up the video 4 times just so it wouldn't take so long for us to watch this. You got the idea. That's a little faster than you would normally switch, but after he spotted that car, I thought you'd like to see the car card for it. It says that the car is supposed to be spotted at the team track with that spins 2345. That means zone 23 and track 45. And over on the car card box, you can see I have the 2345 number on there. So that's how we keep track of where the cars are supposed to go. Pay no attention to that GE 44 tonner there on the left. There's 2 of them there, Milwaukee. Very cool, but we'll talk about that some other time. So now that he spotted that car, and we've seen that he used the correct waybill, we're going to head back out. We had a long discussion about what to do next, and I can't really explain why we decided what we decided, but we decided that he would take the cars that are out of view, the lower left, over to Interbay to get them out of Bayside, and that he would use the switch engine to do it, which is a little irregular. Normally you would call a transfer freight, but in this case it was all right. So he took this engine back in another runaround maneuver and then hauled those cars over to the Interbay yard, which on the railroad is behind us.
We're doing good?
Yep, I think we're doing well.
So, because everything was so clogged up, he ended up running around the yard on the other side of the peninsula, coming back through the Delta Y and pushing onto this cut of cars. I'm really not sure why it was necessary, but it doesn't matter. Point is, we get to watch a switch engine at work. And a bang, and do some more analysis of car cards. So here comes the bang. Bang! Now, if it were me, I would have stopped it in order to connect the air hoses and stuff like that, but He just kept shoving on out. And there were some additional cars standing on the track that he had been working on before. So we get one more nice S-curve operation. And you can see we have some cars there to pick up. And in the end, what we decided to do was just shove the entire thing back to Interbay Yard. You can see our CP Rail bright red car there at the freight house that we spotted a few minutes ago. Wait for it. Bang! So, like I say, we discussed this some more, and then he shoved it all back to Interbay. If we take a look at the car cards that we were dealing with here, they will correspond to the cars that are in his cut. And after he shoved it over to Interbay, the car cards needed to be in the right place too. See, there's the switcher with our cut of cars that you just saw a minute ago in Bayside. Now it's in the Interbay yard and standing on yard track 3. So he went over to the car card box labeled yard track 3 and put the car cards in there. And now we can call the whole thing good. That's the Dravis Street overpass in the Interbay yard, and that's where things stand. So I hope you enjoyed this video. A little flat switching, shoving, bangs, car cards. It's all reality model railroading, and it's a lot of fun. I recommend it. If you enjoyed this as much as I did, take a look at all the other videos on this channel. There's a lot more of this type of thing, as well as other people's layouts, and it's just all a lot of fun. And we'll be continuing to update you as we continue to make progress on the railroad. And you can see those cement hoppers are the ones we started this video out with, those ones on the backdrop there. So for now, this is Burr Stewart, wishing you much fun with trains.